Yeah, here she comes.
What I think I'd like to do is read the Haftorah, and I'd like to just listen to the Torah reading today, if that's okay.
Okay, sure. Yeah, that
All right.
sounds great.
All
Hi,
right, so
Cynthia. Cynthia, it's been so long. It's good to see you.
Hi,
Hi.
Cynthia.
I'm glad you didn't forget about me.
No, I
No, we
can't
never forget about you ever.
I'm
You're
unforgettable. They have a song written about unforgettable.
no. You're never forgettable.
Nat
Okay,
King
I'm ready
Cole.
to read.
Okay, go for it, Ruthie.
Okay,
Wonderful.
here we go. Jacob shall come to take root, Israel shall blossom and bloom. They shall fill the earth with fruit, like a meddler when it sends forth runners. Did God strike Israel down like others who were struck? Was Israel slain as God slew the slayers? God contended with them, sending them off with a hot blast, as on the day the east wind comes. See now, thus shall Jacob's sin be atoned. Atoned. And this will be the result of moving its guilt when they grind all their altar stones into powdered limestone, when none of the sacred posts and incense altars are left standing. The fortified city is empty, its homes deserted, forsaken like a wilderness. Their calves graze and there lie down and consume branches of the trees. When the crown withers, they crack. Women come and see them to kindle fires. Since this people has no understanding, their maker will show them no pity. Their creator will show them no mercy. But there will come a day when from the river Euphrates to Egypt's Nile, God will beat out the peoples like grain, and you will be picked up one by one, O people of Israel. And on that day, a great shofar shall be sounded. Those lost in Assyria, those banished to Egypt, shall come back and worship the Eternal on the holy mountain in Jerusalem. Ah, the proud garlands of the trumpets of Ephraim, whose glorious beauty is but fading flowers on the proud heads of gluttons and drunkards. See now, my sovereign has something strong and mighty in store, like a stream of hail, a destructive storm, a downpour of mighty waters overflowing the land. They shall be trampled underfoot, the proud garlands of the drunkards of Ephraim, the faded flowers whose glorious beauty is on the heads of those gluttons. They shall be like an early fig before the summer harvest. Whoever sees it swallows it as soon as it comes to hand. But a day will come when the God of heaven's hosts will be a garland of beauty, a diadem of loveliness for the remnant of God's people. Is that it?
No, I'm sorry. I can't.
Oh.
I have an issue sometimes. Okay.
Okay. A spirit of justice for those who sit as judges and courage for those who defend the city. But those too are reeling with wine and dazed by liquor. Priest and prophet reel with liquor, are besotted with wine and totter in judgment. Yes, every table is covered with vomit and filth, but not a place is left. The drunkard say, to whom is he teaching his revelation? To those newly weaned from milk? Therefore teach them one command and then another, one line and then another, a little here, a little there. So the prophet must talk so this crowd with slow speech and simple words, and say to them, excuse me, here is rest for the weary. I just had to take a drink of water.
Okay.
Sorry.
No, take your time.
No, that's okay. Repose is here. Still they refuse to listen. To them, the word of the Eternal will come. Will come one command and then another, one line and then another, a little here, a little there. But instead of listening, they will march forward, only to fall back hurt. They will be sneered and taken captive. The Eternal, the one who saved Abraham, therefore says to the house of Jacob, no more shall Jacob be put to shame. No more shall his face grow pale. For when his children see what I am doing in their midst, they shall hallow my name, hallowing the Holy One of Jacob and holding Israel's God in awe. That's pretty nice. It's really, so, I'm noticing a lot of Haftorah is poetic. I never noticed that before until we started reading it.
Mm.
A lot of poetry in there.
Yes. I tend to agree with that. That whole passage seemed to be saying that there's going to be times that people are not going to be reading the Torah and the Bible, and then you see how
Yes.
these people were drunk and they were like,
Right.
it's almost like you can see it today, like, oh, you're going to show us what's what, and who are you going to teach? Babies, it's like, it's interesting, isn't it? You can almost see
Yeah.
people reacting in that kind of way, I think.
Right. And you really see that God's not too thrilled with all these people that are getting drunk all the time.
Right. Yes, exactly. And I always say that the Bible, that's pretty much the message of the Bible, is like a history of people who they went and followed God and good things happened, and they strayed from God and things didn't really work out that well. I mean, I feel like that's
Right.
kind of like the gist, but the Torah
Yeah.
is like really the basis of it all. All right, Ruth, thanks for
Yes, you're very welcome. I'm just needing to listen tonight instead of read anymore, but thank you. Yeah.
awesome.
Michael, I have a question for you. Do you know much about who Isaiah was?
It's interesting. I know he was a prophet. He's one of the there's like, I think, 4 main prophets in the Hebrew Bible: Isaiah, Jeremiah, Ezekiel, and one more. Jeremiah, Isaiah,
I know there's another one, and my mind's gone blank right now.
and anyway, you know what they had? They had an interesting little write-up on him. And if we go back to here, it'll say Isaiah, a member of the royal household in Jerusalem, preached for some 40 years, the second half of the 8th century. And it was during the time that the Assyrians destroyed the northern kingdom. Isaiah traced its demise to the thorough corruption of the upper classes, with drunkenness and gluttony serving as his prime examples. This teaching tells the story of the people's enslavement in Egypt and of the eventual deliverance that God has planned. Similarly, the Haftarah deals with Israel's misfortunes and the salvation that is bound to come.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Okay, that's good.
I want to say Daniel, but I don't know if Daniel's in the same group. I don't know how.
I was thinking of David, but he's a king. No, David.
Right. Yeah. David was a king, and
David's a king. Yeah, so he wouldn't. Yeah.
and it's all right. Where was I? Okay.
You have to go past the prologue.
Yeah. There we go.
There you go. 1. You're all set.
Okay.
We're just starting Shemot. We're starting Exodus. It's
Exodus. Yeah. No. So we're in Egypt. Who would like to start? Monique, you want to start?
Sure. These are the names of the sons of Israel who came to Egypt with Jacob, each coming with his household: Reuben, Simeon, Levi, and Judah; Issachar, Zebulun, and Benjamin; Dan and Naphtali, Gad, and Asher. The total number of persons that were of Jacob's issue came to 70, Joseph being already in Egypt. Joseph died, his brothers, and all that generation. But the Israelites were fertile and prolific. They multiplied and increased very greatly, so that the land was filled with them. A new king arose over Egypt who did not know Joseph, and he said to his people, "Look, the Israelite people are much too numerous for us. Let us deal shrewdly with them so that they may not increase. Otherwise, in the event of war, they may join our enemies in fighting against us and rise from the ground." So they set taskmasters over them to oppress them with forced labor, and they built garrison cities for Pharaoh, Pithom, and Ramses. But the more they were oppressed, the more they increased and spread out, so that the Egyptians came to dread the Israelites.
Can I just stop here for a minute? You know what's really interesting about this is that they looked at, because we increased, instead of thinking that we could have supported them, they thought that we would fight them. Isn't that interesting? That they thought that we would be their enemy, instead of thinking that we could be their their friend. You know what I'm saying? I thought that's interesting that they, just because we were numerous, they thought that we would fight against them. Does anybody else notice that? Maybe it's
Yeah,
just
Yeah,
me.
I noticed that. Yeah.
Yeah,
That's humanity, because
yeah.
we see others and we fear them, and we see them becoming greater than ourselves. That's just the human condition.
Yeah, it's so interesting because I would look at it, gee, there's all these nice people. All these people could be my friends. That's what I would look at it as, you know.
Right. But you know, and that's really part of Jewish history too, is that it's always been about, in my mind anyway, my interpretation, right, of how the Jewish people only bow down to God in all throughout all of history. And so when they come into a land and then there's a leader, and the leader sometimes declares themselves like, I am God. You have to bow down to me.
Yeah,
You have to worship
right.
it. You know, so right away there's going to be some
Conflict, yeah.
conflict, you know, and unfortunately that's kind of most of it, right? Purim is the same idea, wasn't it? That the king, you had to bow to the king.
Yeah, right. Yeah,
So
and it was a lot of a tremendous amount of discrimination against women. We'll talk about that later.
okay. But it's so true to keep that in your, you know, to keep that thought forefront, because it really doesn't, it happens all the time, you know. I mean,
Yeah,
the Jews get
yeah,
kicked out of every country, and it's like,
right,
what is
right.
going on? How come? Oh, they don't,
Yeah,
you know, they don't want to bow to the king, or they don't want to do this.
right,
And it's
right.
like they have a king in heaven, you know. That's
Yeah.
tremendous, and it breaks my heart. It breaks my heart.
All
Anyway,
right.
but we're in
We
better
can go on.
times, right? I hope. So number 13, go ahead, Moni.
The Egyptians ruthlessly imposed upon the Israelites the various labors that they made them perform. Ruthlessly, they made life bitter for them with harsh labor at mortar and bricks and with all sorts of tasks in the field. The king of Egypt spoke to the Hebrew midwives, one of whom was named Shipra and the other Puah, saying, when you deliver the Hebrew women, look at the birth stool. If it is a boy, kill him. If it is a girl, let her live. The midwives, fearing God, did not do as the king of Egypt had told them. They let the boys live. So the king of Egypt summoned the midwives and said to them, why have you done this thing, letting the boys live? The midwives said to Pharaoh, because the Hebrew women are not like the Egyptian women. They are vigorous. Before the midwife can come to them, they have given birth. And God dealt well with the midwives, and the people multiplied and increased greatly. And God established households for the midwives because they feared God. Then Pharaoh charged all his people, saying, every boy that is born you shall throw into the Nile, but let every girl live. A certain member of the house of Levi went and married a woman of Levi. The woman conceived and bore a son, and when she saw how beautiful he was, she hid him for 3 months. When she could hide him no longer, she got a wicker basket for him and caulked it with bitumen and pitch. She put the child into it and placed it among the reeds by the bank of the Nile. And his sister stationed herself at a distance to learn what would befall him. The daughter of Pharaoh came down to bathe in the Nile, while her maidens walked along the Nile. She spied the basket among the reeds and sent her slave girl to fetch it. When she opened it, she saw that it was a child, a boy crying. She took pity on him and said, this must be a Hebrew child. Then his sister said to Pharaoh's daughter, shall I go and get you a Hebrew nurse to suckle the child for you? And Pharaoh's daughter answered, yes. So the girl went and called the child's mother. And Pharaoh's daughter said to her, take this child and nurse it for me, and I will pay you wages. So the woman took the child and nursed it. When the child grew up, she brought him to Pharaoh's daughter, and who made him her son. She named him Moses, explaining, I drew him out of the water. Sometime after that, when Moses had grown up, he went out to his kinfolk and witnessed their labors. He saw an Egyptian beating a Hebrew, one of his kinsmen. He turned this way and that, and seeing no one about, he struck down the Egyptian and hid him in the sand. When he went out the next day, he found 2 Hebrews fighting. So he said to the offender, why do you strike your fellow? He retorted, who made you chief and ruler over us? Do you mean to kill me as you killed the Egyptian? Moses was frightened and
Hi,
thought,
Dr. Ed.
that
How are you?
was known.
Yeah, we're in Torah right now.
Yeah, uh,
Oh, he sent it out on Monday. Hang on. I'm sorry. Are we on the
Okay.
next page?
No,
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 not yet.
no,
No,
no, we stopped because you started talking, so
Oh,
you,
all right. Sorry. All right. Bye.
was that Ed?
Yeah. Oh, you can
Okay,
hear me? You can hear me without my, I
yeah,
thought
we
my
could hear
microphone.
everything you were saying. That's why we couldn't, you didn't put yourself on mute. So,
Oh, okay. All right. Good. Sorry about that.
okay,
I don't know how I'm gonna mute. It's kind of weird. All right. All right.
okay,
Moses,
all right, so
Moses,
wait a minute,
Moses,
let's go,
Moses
where
was
did you stop?
Moses
Okay.
was frightened and thought that the matter is known. When Pharaoh learned of the matter, he sought to kill Moses, but Moses fled from Pharaoh. He arrived in the land of Midian and sat down beside a well.
Now I turn the page.
Yes,
Yeah. Now the priest of Midian had 7 daughters. They came to draw water and filled the troughs to water their father's flock. But shepherds came and drove them off. Moses rose to their defense and he watered their flock. When they returned to their father Reuel, he said, "How is it that you have come back so soon today?" They answered, "An Egyptian was our champion. He rescued us from the shepherds. He even drew water for us and watered the flock." He said to his daughters, "Where is he then? Why did you leave this champion? Ask him in to break bread." Moses consented to stay in that household, and Reuel gave Moses his daughter Zipporah as wife. She bore a son whom he named Gershom, for he said, "I have been a stranger in a foreign land." A long time after that, the king of Egypt died. The Israelites were groaning under the bondage and cried out, and their cry for help from the bondage rose up to God. God heard their moaning, and God remembered the covenant with Abraham and Isaac and Jacob. God looked upon the Israelites, and God took notice of them. I'm just gonna get some water.
Oh, okay. Yep. Take your time. How is it okay, Cynthia, if she takes it up, and maybe we can come back to you, Monique, if you want. Um,
yeah,
this is really great. You know what it reminds me of too is just how steadfast, again, this whole idea for the Jewish people, the Hebrews, to hang on to the concept of God throughout all
mhm,
this oppression, throughout all these things, that to me is so monumental. It's just
yeah.
it's so incredible because they risk everything with this concept
Yeah,
of,
and they were constantly beaten all the time.
yeah, I just, my heart goes out to the Jewish people all the time. So Cynthia, you want to pick it up at 3:1?
Sure. Now Moses, tending the flock of his father-in-law Jethro, the priest of Midian, drove the flock into the wilderness and came to Horeb, the mountain of God. An angel of the Eternal appeared to him in a blazing fire out of a bush. He gazed, and there was a bush all aflame, yet the bush was not consumed. Moses said, "I must turn aside to look at this marvelous sight. Why doesn't the bush burn up?" When the Eternal saw that he had turned aside to look, God called to him out of the bush, "Moses, Moses," he answered, "Here I am." And God said, "Do not come closer. Remove your sandals from your feet, for the place on which you stand is holy ground." And continued, "I am the God of your father's house, the God of Abraham, the God of Isaac, and the God of Jacob." And Moses hid his face, for he was afraid to look at God. And the Eternal continued, "I have marked well the plight of my people in Egypt, and have heeded their outcry because of their taskmasters. Yes, I am mindful of their sufferings. I have come down to rescue them from the Egyptians and to bring them out of the land to a good and spacious land, a land flowing with milk and honey, the region of the Canaanites, the Hittites, the Amorites, the Pizerites, the Hivites, and the Jebusites. Now the cry of the Israelites has reached me. Moreover, I have seen how the Egyptians oppress them. Come, therefore, I will send you to Pharaoh, and you shall free my people, the Israelites, from Egypt." But Moses said to God, "Who am I that I should go to Pharaoh and free the Israelites from Egypt?" And God said, "I will be with you, and shall be your sign that it was I who sent you. And when you have freed the people from Egypt, you shall worship God at this mountain." Moses said to God, "When I come to the Israelites and say to them, 'The God of your ancestors has sent me to you,' and they ask me, 'What is God's name?' what shall I say to them?" And God said to Moses, Aye, asher ha'aye. Continuing, thus shall you say to the Israelites, Aye sent to express,
I'm
I don't
sorry.
know.
I'm sorry.
Oh, Aye sent me to you. And God said further to Moses, thus shall you speak to the Israelites, the eternal, the God of your ancestors, the God of Abraham, the God of Isaac, and the God of Jacob sent me to you. Thus shall be my name forever, this my appellation for all eternity. Go and assemble the elders of Israel and say to them, the eternal, the God of your ancestors, the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob has appeared to me and said, I have taken note of you and of what is being done to you in Egypt. And I have declared, I will take you out of the misery of Egypt to the land of the Canaanites, the Hittites, the Amorites, the Perizzites, the Hivites, and the Jebusites, to a land flowing with milk and honey. They will listen to you. Then you shall go with the elders of Israel to the king of Egypt, and you shall say to him, the eternal, the God of the Hebrews, became manifest to us. Now, therefore, let us go a distance of 3 days into the wilderness to sacrifice to the eternal our God. Yet I know that the king of Egypt will let you go only because of a greater might. So I will stretch out my hand and smite Egypt with various wonders, which I will work upon them. After that, he shall let you go. And I will dispose the Egyptians favorably toward this people, so that when you go, you will not go away empty-handed. Each woman shall borrow from her neighbor and the lodger in her house objects of silver and gold and clothing. And you shall put these on your sons and daughters, thus stripping the Egyptians. But Moses spoke up and said, what if they do not believe me and do not listen to me, but say, the eternal did not appear to you? The eternal one said to him, what is that in your hand? And he replied, a rod. God said, cast it on the ground. He cast it on the ground and it became a snake, and Moses recoiled from it. Then the eternal said to Moses, put out your hand and grasp it by the tail. He put out his hand and seized it, and it became a rod in his hand, that they may believe that the eternal, the God of their ancestors, the God of Abraham, the God of Isaac, and the God of Jacob did appear to you. The eternal said to him further, put your hand into your bosom. He put his hand into his bosom, and when he took it out, his hand was encrusted with snowy scales. And God said, put your hand back into your bosom. He put his hand back into his bosom, and when he took out of his bosom, there it was again, like the rest of his body. And if they do not believe you or pay heed to the first signs, they will believe the second. And if they are not convinced by both these signs and still do not heed you, take some water from the Nile and pour it on the dry ground. And it, the water that you take from the Nile, will turn to blood on the dry ground. But Moses said to the eternal, please, O my Lord, I have never been good with words, either in times past or now, that you have spoken to your servant. I am slow of speech and slow of tongue. And the eternal said to him, who gives human speech? Who makes them dumb or deaf, seeing or blind? Is it not I, the eternal? Now go, and I will be with you as you speak, and will instruct you what to say. But he said, please.
Oh, I'm sorry. I guess Gary can't get in the Zoom meeting. Hang on one second, guys. I just want to see if I can resend this email real quick. Hold on. Can't believe it. Okay, sorry. A lot of confusion. Oh yeah. All right. Does it, I mean, when we're reading this, does anyone think of Charlton Heston?
Yes,
Yeah,
of
but
course.
Charleston Heston, you know, it was a little bit too dramatic, you know.
Yeah, it's Hollywood, right?
It's Hollywood. But I
It's
mean, yes, I mean, the Ten Commandments, you know, by C.C. DeMille, it was quite a spectacular. When I saw it when I was like 11 or 12 years old, I can't remember. I think I was 11. It made a tremendous impact on me because I used to say this all during the Passover Seder, and to see a movie like about the Passover Seder, to me, that was pretty exciting. But
wow.
as I got older, I saw there was a lot of mistakes made in the movie. So, you know,
Oh, really? Yeah.
yeah.
One of the
But that-
mistakes, from what I've heard, I don't mean to interrupt you, but I haven't seen it since. Someone said to me, take a note and you will see Edward G. Robinson is wearing a watch.
Yeah, but there's a couple of things that he does. Yeah, there was a bunch of little mistakes in the thing, but I'm not even talking about those type of mistakes.
No, I
I'm
know
talking
that.
about mistakes within the Torah and how it's.
Oh,
it's
yeah, yeah.
That's what
Yeah.
I'm talking. I'm not talking about filming mistakes. I'm talking. Yeah, but anyways.
Right. Yeah. Oh, it definitely takes like a Hollywood approach to it. I mean,
Oh,
yeah,
definitely. Yeah, I mean, yeah,
there's
right,
all
yeah.
different convoluted ways that
Right,
they go.
right. Although
right.
Edward G. Robinson did a fabulous job. I really
That's
liked
true. Yeah,
his character was pretty great. Yeah.
yeah, is the guy that you love to hate. Absolutely.
Yeah, guy you love to hate. Yeah.
All right, Cynthia, and Dr. Ed is here. So no more talking about Dr. Edward G. Robinson. Let's talk to
Okay.
Edward G. Robinson.
The
He
reason
spoke-
why we're talking about Edward G. Robinson is because we're on the pasha where he comes into this.
the
Well,
Moses.
You do know he spoke fluent Yiddish.
Really?
I didn't know that.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah,
he came out of the Yiddish theater, I think, originally.
Oh,
correct.
did he?
yeah, he was.
Was he
spoke,
Jewish? Was he
no,
Jewish?
he was not. He
Oh,
was.
oh,
He
oh.
spoke fluent Yiddish.
Look, you know, there was a lot of actors during the 30s and 40s that spoke Yiddish. You know who spoke Yiddish was Satchmo. What's his name? Satchmo.
Oh, Louis Armstrong.
Louis Armstrong.
Louis
He
Armstrong.
was brought up in a Jewish he
Family?
was brought up with a Jewish family, and he spoke Yiddish fluently.
Wow, that's incredible. Yeah, I think I
Oh,
heard
there's
something like that.
there's a lot of stories about a lot of actors that spoke Yiddish that were not Jewish. It's very common. Yeah.
Wow.
During the Yiddish theater and all that. Yeah.
Oh,
So
okay.
did Colin Powell.
Really? Wow.
You read his book. Yeah, he
Yeah.
had a. Oh yeah.
Yeah, I read some of it. I did read some of that. Yeah.
Gary's here too. Fantastic.
Oh, everybody's just coming in. We're almost finished with the Torah. Okay.
That's okay.
Gary, Aki, how are
Gary,
you?
we
I'm
miss
totally,
you.
I'm totally,
We
in,
miss you,
I'm
Gary.
totally out in space. I don't know what's going on.
It's a
I
tough
really
I
don't.
told you that he was spacing out. Didn't I tell you
Oh,
that Gary
man.
was spacing out?
No, it's not good. Not good, but you
Hey,
know,
we all
it's the way it
space
is.
out. Give yourself a little Rahmanis, okay?
Yeah, it's a tough week.
For me, it's my regular way of life. Terrible.
All right,
Oh,
who's where are we now?
Okay, so let me just
We're on line 14.
yeah,
Okay,
it's
all right,
this is really important because this is when God is instructing Moses, Moses is giving God all these reasons why he can't do what he's asked to do, which sounds so, it's so human, we don't want to do these things, and so Moses is saying I can't speak, and so choose somebody else, and then this is what Moses says, and then he says, please, oh my Lord, make someone else your agent. So he's actually saying no to God.
I know. Yeah,
And
right.
that's tough. So Cynthia, pick it up at 14, please. If you want.
At 14, am I right?
Yep.
Yes.
The Eternal became angry with Moses and said, there is your brother Aaron the Levite. He, I know, speaks readily. Even now he is setting out to meet you, and he will be happy to see you. You shall speak to him and put the words in his mouth. I will be with you and with him as you speak, and tell both of you what to do. And he shall speak for you to the people. Thus he shall serve as your spokesman, with you playing the role of God to him. And take with you this rod, with which you shall perform the signs. Moses went back to his father-in-law Jethro, and said to him, "Let me go back to my kinsfolk in Egypt and see how they're faring." And Jethro said to Moses, "Go in peace." The Eternal One said to Moses in Midian, "Go back to Egypt, for all the authorities who sought to kill you are dead." So Moses took his wife and sons, mounted them on an ass, and went back to
Egypt, probably.
the land of Egypt.
Good
I
guess.
correct you, the land of Egypt. And Moses took the rod of God with him. And the Eternal said to Moses, "When you return to Egypt, see that you perform before Pharaoh all the marvels that I have put within your power. I, however, will stiffen his heart so that he will not let the people go. Then you shall say to Pharaoh, 'Thus says the Eternal, Israel is my firstborn son. I have said to you, let my son go that he may worship me. Yet you refuse to let him go. Now I will slay your firstborn son.'" At a night encampment on the way, the Eternal encountered him and sought to kill him. So Zipporah took a flint and cut off her son's foreskin and touched his legs with it, saying, "You are truly a bridegroom of blood to me." And when God let him alone, she added, "A bridegroom of blood because of the circumcision." The Eternal One said to Aaron, "Go to meet Moses in the wilderness." He went and met him at the mountain of God, and he kissed him.
Can we just stop for a minute?
Yes.
So can we just talk about what Zipporah did?
Yeah, that
Yeah.
was unbelievable.
Is that where circumcision comes from?
No,
because
Abraham.
no. Circumcision started with Abraham.
Yeah, Abraham came.
Abraham was the first person that
Oh, Abraham. Okay.
Abraham. No, Zipporah knew about this this custom, I gather. She must have known about it, from the Jews, from the Israelites. I mean, I don't know, either that or Moses told her about it, but she did it. She did I think that's pretty amazing in itself that the woman was able to do that,
Okay.
And that was Moses' son that she did that to?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes,
Oh.
because he was the son of Moses now,
And they were probably already practicing this in Egypt then, probably, circumcision, right? There's no.
I think so. I don't know. There was a lot of circumcision other than Jews at certain points.
Oh, okay.
I don't know all of I wasn't there.
Male and female.
Wow.
Oh, females too?
Not the Jewish people, but yeah,
Not
among
the
many
Jewish.
African
No,
tribes.
this.
African
I know
tribe.
that there's
African, yeah.
circumcisions in Africa for women, but I
Yeah.
never heard of it here in Egypt.
No,
I
not
think
in Egypt, but around
in
the
Egypt.
world.
Yeah, but
around
yes,
the
I
world.
do know. I know about that, but that's more in Africa. That's what I've been told. It's more in Africa. But anyways,
All right. And even before this part too, it's just kind of struck me this time that we read it. It says that the Eternal says has Moses say to Pharaoh, "Let my son go that he may worship me," yet you refuse to let him go. Now the Eternal says, "And I will slay your firstborn son to Pharaoh." And that becomes like a prophecy, doesn't it? And
Yep.
when it
right.
happened, it must have that was kind of like the final step, and it was like,
Right.
get these people out of here.
Yeah, and Yul Brenner didn't believe him.
That's right. And we got to go back to the movie. That movie's
Yul Brynner
incredible.
was.
Yes,
Oh
Yul
yeah, Yul
Brynner
Brynner,
was
of
the
course.
He
yes,
was the
Yul
Pharaoh.
Brynner was the Pharaoh, right?
Yeah, he was good. He
did
was a
very
tough
good
guy.
job.
He did.
did.
He was
Did a good
magnificent.
job. Okay.
All right, how are we doing, Cynthia? You want to keep going?
Let's keep going.
Okay, now let me see, where was I?
You're 27.
Yeah.
Oh, good. Okay. The Eternal One said to Aaron, "Go to meet Moses in the wilderness." He went and met him at the mountain of God, and he kissed him. Moses told Aaron about all the things that the Eternal had committed to him and all the signs about which he had been instructed. Then Moses and Aaron went and assembled all the elders of the Israelites. Aaron repeated all the words that the Eternal had spoken to Moses, and he performed the signs in the sight of those assembled. And the assembly was convinced. When they heard that the Eternal had taken note of the Israelites and that God had seen their plight, they bowed low in homage. Afterward, Moses and Aaron went and said to Pharaoh, "Thus says the Eternal, the God of Israel, let my people go that they may celebrate a festival for me in the wilderness." But Pharaoh said, "Who is the Eternal that I should heed him and let Israel go? I do not know the Eternal, nor will I let Israel go." They answered, "The God of the Hebrews has become manifest to us. Let us go, we pray, a distance of 3 days into the wilderness to sacrifice to the Eternal our God, lest God strike us with pestilence or sword." But the king of Egypt said to them, "Moses and Aaron, why do you distract the people from their tasks? Get to your labors." And Pharaoh continued, "The people of the land are already so numerous, and you would have them cease from their labors." That same day, Pharaoh charged the taskmasters and overseers of the people, saying, "You shall no longer provide the people with straw for making bricks as heretofore. Let them go and gather straw for themselves, but impose upon them the same quota of bricks as they have been making heretofore. Do not reduce it, for they are shirkers. That is why they cry, 'Let us go and sacrifice to our God.' Let heavier work be laid upon the laborers. Let them keep at it and not pay attention to deceitful promises." So the taskmasters and overseers of the people went out and said to the people, "Thus says Pharaoh, I will not give you any straw. You must go and get the straw yourselves, and wherever you can find it. But there shall be no decrease, whatever in your work." Then the people scattered throughout the land of Egypt to gather stubble for straw. And the taskmasters pressed them, saying, "You must complete the same work assignment each day as when you had straw." And the overseers of the Israelites, whom Pharaoh's taskmasters had set over them, were beaten. "Why," they were asked, "did you not complete the prescribed amount of bricks, either yesterday or today, as you did before?" Then the overseers of the Israelites came to Pharaoh and cried, "Why do you deal thus with your servants? No straw is issued to your servants, yet they demand of us, 'Make bricks.' Thus your servants are being beaten when the fault is with your own people." He replied, "You are shirkers, shirkers. That is why you say, 'Let us go and sacrifice to the Eternal.' Be off now to your work. No straw shall be issued to you, but you must produce your quota of bricks."
Can we just stop here for a second? Because,
What a meanie. He's a big
oh,
meanie.
he's a big meanie.
He's a
And
big meanie.
can you imagine African Americans enslaved in reading this passage? Because I know for a fact that this gave them such courage to know that other people had been brought down low. And in fact, Booker T. Washington, you remember him? He built he was a great evangelist, and well, he was more of an educator, and he was set to build black colleges in the South, Tuskegee Institute, and
Yeah.
he in his autobiography mentions this passage of Exodus as feeling he felt the same way when he was trying to build his schools, that we were trying to they were making bricks to build these schools, and he felt exactly this way, and he pulls these stories, and that's why this is it's just so amazing to me that these stories continue and they talk to so many people at so many different levels.
I want to mention something else in relationship to this. When I was at the Holocaust Museum in Washington, D.C., as I was going through it, and people were reading all about what happened to the Europeans, and there was a black group with me next to me, and they said that we should. This is what they said. They said we should be having some type of museum like this for us, because it makes so much sense. That they were saying how wonderful it was that the Jews kind of had this whole chronological order to show people in the world about what happened in the Holocaust, and they were saying they need that for themselves. I remember them telling me that when I was at the Holocaust Museum, and it really struck me when they were telling me this. They were saying, we got to do something for ourselves like this. It was very interesting. So I just, it's on a different note, than it wasn't about like straw and stuff, but it was what they went through is what I was getting at.
Right, and they ended up building that museum.
Yes, they did. They did.
Recently,
But
yeah.
at the time when I went there, it wasn't built yet. Yeah,
That's
it wasn't
incredible.
built. Yeah.
Beautiful stuff.
Yeah.
All right. How's everybody? You want to Monique, do you want to pick up from
Where,
Cynthia?
where are we?
Number 19 or somebody else? It doesn't matter.
No, I can read. Now the
Thank you,
overseers of,
Cynthia. Thanks.
Thanks, Cynthia.
now the overseers of the Israelites found themselves in trouble because of the order. You must not reduce your daily quantity of bricks. As they left Pharaoh's presence, they came upon Moses and Aaron standing in their path, and they said to them, "May the Eternal look upon you and punish you for making us loathsome to Pharaoh and his courtiers, putting a sword in their hands to slay us." Then Moses returned to the Eternal and said, "Oh my Lord, why did you bring harm upon this people? Why did you send me? Ever since I came to Pharaoh to speak in your name, he has dealt worse with his people, and still you have not delivered your people." Then the Eternal One said to Moses, "You shall soon see what I will do to Pharaoh. He shall let them go because of a greater might. Indeed, because of a greater might, he shall drive them from his land."
Wow. I think that's it for this week. Right?
Wow. Oh, that's a lot. Well,
Yeah.
that was great. Yeah.
Yeah. Cliffhanger. Another
It's a
cliffhanger.
cliffhanger, all right, because we gotta find out what happens as if we don't know, right? But it's nice. It was a good pasha. It was a really good pasha.
Wow. Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
It's so great. These stories are just timeless. I could read them all every week. It's like incredible.
Yeah.
That's why
We do.
it. We do, right?
Yeah.
How's everybody? How's everyone doing? Cynthia, it's been so long, and Gary. Oh my gosh, Gary's here. I didn't think we were going to see him, but
So nice to
I
see you,
totally,
Cynthia.
I
Thank
totally.
you. I feel warmly welcomed.
We always love you.
hmm hmm And
But my absence wasn't because of a desire to be absent. It was just, but I like to always leave you wanting more. So I'm glad.
You're such a sweetheart. I love you.
yeah.
That's great.
So there's some big event coming up on Saturday. Is that
Yeah,
right?
Saturday, 1:30 in the morning.
1:30 in the morning. What do you got going on, Dr. Ed? What's happening? How's everything? Gosh.
I have had so much headache in the last 5 weeks. You can't believe. And today was another one.
Oh no. Oh no.
Another one.
But you usually have lots of headaches before everything works out. That's how it always is.
So I did all my checking in today, and I said, and I checked off. I said, we need more this, we need more that, because we're going completely grab and go. We had to have we had a meeting last night with an epidemiologist, an epidemiologist to talk to us, an infectious disease physician from Bread of Life got a hold of, and we had a meeting last night to decide what to do. And one of the things that came out is we're going to do completely grab and go, as well as we've got about 700 meals to deliver, and then we don't know how many